I, female 55, had been married to my husband, 60, for 20 years before he died. It was cancer. He had 2 kids from a past marriage who were in their early teens when he married me. I had a pre-tween from an earlier relationship as well. We didn't have any more kids. I tried to treat my stepchildren as my own, but they never accepted me. They were rude and insulted me whenever they could. Since I didn't work, they called me a gold digger who married their dad only for his money. My grandparents were quite wealthy and left me a lot of money when they died. I lived well below my means and chose to stay home and raise my daughter since I could afford to do that. I didn't need his money at all, but I didn't bother sharing this with his kids and told him not to either. I didn't want them to like me just because they might gain monetarily from me. On the other hand, my husband hated how they behaved with me. Their blatant disrespect made him not pay for their college tuition. Their mom couldn't pay for it, so they had to take loans. They didn't even talk to him. Even when he got cancer, they refused to come see him. For 3 years, we struggled with the treatment. My daughter came to visit from time to time when she could. During this time, the only person who really helped us was someone we were not related to. This girl in her late 20s waitressed at this cafe we frequented. She was a single mom, taking classes at community college at night, working during the day, and raising her 2 kids. She took a liking to us, and when she learned my husband was sick, she spent whatever time she could to visit with him. She had stayed nights at the hospital when I needed a break, and was the only daughter we wished for. When he died, she helped me arrange the funeral. His kids came on the day, and they only wanted to know about their inheritance. I felt sick. When I learned that my husband had left his estate to me, whatever was left after settling his bills, and it was around $25,000. His treatment and care ate up a lot of money. I decided to give it to the girl who helped us so much. She tried to refuse, but I insisted she take it. She needed it, and in my opinion, deserved it much more than his ungrateful children. My daughter understands why I didn't give it to his children, but is upset that I didn't give anything to her. I told her she already had money and a job. Not to mention, she'll get my inheritance. This was in no way her money, but his ex-wife and kids are causing havoc over this and are really upset with me. They're calling me an idiot for giving away money they deserve. Am I the idiot for giving my late husband's estate to a stranger instead of his kids? Edit. There was no affair. We did know each other. He was my friend's brother's best friend. We used to see each other at their get-togethers and stuff. We started dating 2 years after his divorce. Not the idiot. First of all, an estate of $25K is minimal. It's not the size of an estate that people normally ask about or fight over. Surprisingly, your child and your stepchildren were expecting some windfall when your husband's total net worth was $25K. Were they under the impression that your husband had money? If your husband wanted his kids, or your kids, to have his estate, he would have left it to them, but he wanted you to have it, and you're well within your right and the moral high ground to gift it to someone who influenced your life and for whom it may be life-changing. You'd be surprised how many people fight about money, even when it's a smaller amount than $25K. It's sad but true. One example that stands out is a distant friend's family, 4 beneficiaries, fighting over a $500 gift in the will. They each fought over $125. It cost them more in legal fees to fight over it. The pettiness of it all will stick with me for a long time. OP, I'm sorry for your loss. Seems like that waitress was more family by choice than those awful stepkids were by blood. Sounds like they were the true gold diggers. I disagree. I think you and your husband didn't do a great job of integrating families and then blamed his kids for not accepting you. They probably parroted what they heard elsewhere, and he and you did nothing to improve that. His relationship with them sounds very transactional. He refused to pay for college because he was angry, and they pulled back. I'm not saying he should have ignored it, but your description of his kids as money grubbing, while not seeing your own daughter that way despite her argument that she should have gotten his money, gives a negative picture of your attitude towards them. So while you're not wrong for giving money to the young woman who supported you both, you and your husband are to blame for this family dynamic in the first place. Yep, I could have cleared up a reasonable, if small-minded misconception my stepkids had about me as young teenagers, but I refused, leading to the destruction of my husband's relationship with his kids. But as that wasn't enough, I got even more petty revenge years later after he died. Aren't I sweet? No, you are the idiot. They were kids to young adults, but you were the adult. You could have handled this better in 1,000 ways instead of being a tawdry dime store Cersei Lannister. Gross. My ex and I share custody of our tween daughter, Kelly. She was 3 when we split up. We have a court order to share the cost of her education through her graduating high school, and we have a 2 yes, 1 no policy. We did this as we always intended for her to attend private schools, which is quite an investment. Plus, she's both of our kids. Kelly's been in a private school that focuses on STEM. It's K through 12, so she's been there since kindergarten. She loves it. The only issue has been it's a drive, 45 minutes, and they don't have buses. We've tried to find carpool situations, but the only person from the school in our area moved a few years ago. No relatives nearby to help. We've tried hiring someone to drive her, but they needed to be more reliable. Still, it's been worth the sacrifice. Important to note, Kelly lives with me during the week and sees her dad on the weekends. I'm the one who brings her to and from school. Last year, I remarried. My husband brought 2 children into the relationship. They're both teens. Both attend a private school in town. Similar issue with no busing. They also don't have their own cars as we can't afford that. My husband is a widower, so he's their only parent. He starts work at 6 a.m., so getting the kids to school every day is up to me. Trying to get everyone there on time has been a mess. My stepchildren's private school doesn't have before or after school programs, and it starts after Kelly's. It's a tight squeeze to get her there, then back to their school. After much discussion, my husband and I decided it'd be best for Kelly to start her step-sibling school. We talked to my ex about it, and he was very hesitant, but said if Kelly wanted it, he'd be on board. Kelly doesn't want it. This school doesn't have a STEM program. She doesn't want to leave her friends. She asked why her step-siblings don't have to move to her school, and I said it's because it's more than my husband can afford. I'd chip in, but I can't afford to pay 2.5 tuition. The half is what I pay for hers. Plus, they aren't into STEM or science, which the school heavily focuses on. Kelly's refusing to go. I've tried talking to her, bribing her, etc. She's not budging. Therefore, neither is her dad. It's frustrating, and I voiced that. I've even tried to compromise that it just be until her step-siblings graduated, 2 years. And she said, then I can easily put up with this for 2 years. Now she's been at her dad's, and she says she's not coming home until I drop the matter. I said I wanted to talk about it more, but she refused. Am I the idiot? You are the idiot. Your ex-husband said he would agree if she wanted to. She doesn't, so he's not agreeing. 2 yes, 1 no, remember? His vote is no because she doesn't want to. Drop it and move on. Now the question becomes, how did your husband magically get his teenagers to school before you got married and took it over? He had it figured out before. After much discussion, my husband and I decided it'd be best for Kelly to start at her step-sibling school. Oh, no, you didn't. You decided it would be best for you. Your daughter has a valid point. Why does she have to give up everything? Give the older kids their school permits and a used car to drive themselves to school. 100% this. You can afford 3 kids in private school and to hire a driver, but can't afford cars for the teenagers? That's laughable. Get them cheap banger cars like most teens get and tell them to save up and buy their own car, like the rest. Maybe you should switch so she lives with her dad in the week and you at weekends to make school transport easier. Or hire a better or more reliable driver for her, but she should stay in the school she's in. Why should she get a raw deal? It's inconvenient for you and your new family when she, as your bio daughter, should come first. If hubby can't afford his kids' school fees, that's his problem, not your daughter's. I really thought this rich, childless aunt was just for reels and TikToks to make fun, like an over-exaggerated character. But I, female 41, have noticed that my family has been treating me as such more and more, and I don't know how to feel about it. My partner and I are never the center of any attention, even if it's something that has to do with us. When we got engaged, my brother was late to the party because he had children. I remember being 20 minutes late once for one of the kids' birthday parties because I had work and was reprimanded for being disrespectful. Our wedding won't be child-free because we are not as important as the children. Remember that they all had child-free weddings, even the ones with children, because they needed a break from being parents on their special day. We're always expected to babysit anytime, any day, because we don't have children, so we can't complain. If I say I don't want to, I get asked, "What are you doing with your life day in and day out without any meaning or purpose?" We're always expected to buy the most expensive gifts on each kid's list. My partner and I are well off, and we always hear that we don't have real expenses like them. My nieces already believe that my possessions, like my jewelry and designer stuff, are theirs because they will inherit it from me anyway. Am I overthinking it? That's not coming from only one or two, but from both sides of the family. My 2 siblings and my partner's 3 siblings. I have the feeling that they think I'm not as worthy, not an equal. My life is less valid. I've started to resent it. I feel like I need to take care of more children than any parents I know, because at least parents are only expected to take care of their children. I've spoken to my partner about these feelings, especially after our engagement party that people were late to, and nobody even cared about us. I told him I didn't want to be the rich, childless aunt anymore. He wasn't feeling the same disgust, but he did understand me. Would I be the idiot if I put a stop to this? I'm child-free for a reason. I think children are exhausting. Nothing to do with love. I love my nephews and nieces to bits. I don't want to babysit. I don't want my life to be about them. I don't want my wedding to be about them. And I don't want my death to be about them. I've always done charity work, and I intend to leave everything to charity. My partner was so appalled by my decision, but I told him that he could leave his money to the family and that I was not making him donate anything. He's very upset because I'm the one with the real fortune. Not the idiot. It sounds like you've let this go on for way too long, but it's not too late to fix it. I'd do exactly what you've suggested. Opt out of childcare, make the wedding child-free, and donate your fortune as you see fit. It's yours, and get a prenup while you're at it. Just my 2 cents. Darling, you need to talk to your family. Ask them if they have a problem with your choice to not have children. The passive-aggressive crap, well, actually it's just aggressive, LOL, has got to stop. Have you considered moving somewhere further away? That would cut down on 90% of the harassment. I had a procedure done 4 years ago. My mom found out, and she told everyone. Until then, they all thought I would change my mind, or that I had medical problems that prohibited me from conceiving. Since that day, my mother never spoke to me, and I guess the rest started treating me like a free nanny and an ATM because my life was not worth as much. I hear that my life is meaningless and empty all the time, especially when they need a babysitter. I dream about moving away all the time. My partner doesn't want that, however. Meaningless and empty? Wow, that's beyond rude. You need to just block these people all the way out of your life. Seriously, do yourself a favor and cut them out. They're using you, and you have no value in their eyes except for what you can do for and give them. Stop babysitting. Have a child-free wedding. Donate everything you want to any charity you want, if that's what you want to do. Your nieces aren't entitled to any of your belongings, nor is your family. You could have thought about leaving something for them in a will, but since they treat you this poorly, I advise you against it. Don't reward poor behavior. How sure are you that your partner isn't secretly hoping that you'll change your mind about kids too? The combination of him not standing up for you, being upset at your desire to donate all your money to charity, and not being willing to move away from this BS is concerning. I'm always a super worst case scenario person, but would he go as low as to sabotage your birth control? He seems like a greedy goblin, and I bet it's his nieces who look at your things with greedy goblin eyes. I, 28 female, have been married to my husband for 18 months, and we're expecting our first child. When I first met my husband, we discussed children and even naming children. We both wanted kids and felt that kids deserved their own names, not honor or long-standing family names. My husband was one. It's somewhat of a tradition, and he told me it was complicated at the best of times, but also meant what felt like a very old man's name was often continued on in the family, with no time to let it rest. We discussed it all more in depth when we got engaged. We had agreed that we would stand together and not give a son, if we had one, the family name that would be expected. We're now in the very position we had discussed, and my husband has changed his mind. The name in question is Arthur. The name has been far more popular in the last couple of years, and I worry that its rise in popularity and the familial pressure have made my husband give in and decide that we should stick to the tradition. I'm very upset about this fact, and my husband and I have been disagreeing for nearly 3 months now on the name. I still believe that children should have their own names, and I still don't even like it. He's gone back on our promise, and that stings. We were at his sister's house on Saturday for her daughter's 3rd birthday party. While we were there, certain family members, mostly his mom, brother, and grandfather, told us we should announce baby Arthur's name, and I told them Arthur would not be my son's name. My husband said we still needed to talk more about that, and he would find a way to talk me around. His mom chimed in with a remark about trusting them to name babies over my parents, who sought to give me a trendy and boyish name, Riley. I told her she was rude and had no right to insult my parents. My husband told my mom that she was stepping over the line. She said she was calling it like she saw it. She also claimed my parents had an even bigger issue with middle names, which, according to her, shows that my parents only ever considered themselves and not me or my siblings. My husband told her to stop, but he brought it up again, and I told him I would not be pressured into a name. We had both agreed multiple times what we would not name our son. Then his family got involved again and told me I shouldn't want to deny my son the chance to hold the family name. They also told me it wasn't fair for me to unilaterally decide his name. I told them to mind their own effing business, and I did say effing because kids were around, which was between my husband and me. They were shocked at how I spoke to them and told me I should have apologized and left. They still want their darn apology. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot, but you've got to figure out a way over the hump with your husband. Your ILs are being 10 pounds of crap in a 5-pound bag, but you can ignore them. But you have to live with your husband. He's wrong for the betrayal, and I don't blame you at all for being hurt and angry, but maybe look into some short-term counseling and take advantage of a neutral third party to mediate. Also, your husband doesn't get to give your kid just his surname automatically. Keep that in mind too. Actually, the kid takes the mother's surname. It's just that traditionally, the parents were married, and the mother had already taken the father's surname. My husband, son, and father-in-law all have the same first and last names. It's a freaking nightmare. From getting loans to just everyday mail, it's a circus. Don't do it. Make sure to tell your L&D nurse to only give the birth certificate papers to you. He might try to fill them out behind your back.